Good morning. Good morning, Facebook family and friends. This is Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. And today is August 24th. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone who joins in this video this morning, who watches this video with me as I go live, those of you who may watch it later, and for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and be with me. We're still talking about becoming our whole authentic self. We talked some about core truth. We talked about the impact of negative and positive core beliefs. And we added today our core values. So I think we'll be completing this today, and we'll be moving on to our next topic next week. I think that's how it's going to go. I'm never positive. It all depends on the feedback, that I get. If you see me look to the side, that's because my monitor's over there. And I try, on Saturday, I try to make sure that I'm not missing any comments that may need to be addressed or any question that may need to be addressed. We also talked about our standards. And one thing we talked about, when we have standards, we're setting standards. That's what we're actually talking about in this segment. We want to make sure that our standards belong to us and that they align with our mission and our goals. This is where I'm trying to go. This is what I want in my life. And so I set my standards based on a lot of things, on who I am and on what I believe, and I set my standards for myself based on all of that. And we talked about writing them down. I believe in that, writing them down in the journal and looking back at them, practice them. You want to stick to them. Make sure that when you set a standard, that this is something, first of all, we're looking to see if this is really me, if this is really who I say I am. And we're going to go over that probably again, but we want to make sure that we're not second guessing who we are. If I know for a fact, that I'm a giving person, if I know that, if I'm a loving person, if I know that to be true about myself, and then because I can't or don't the next time help or give or whatever reason, or I'm not doing anything that somebody else perceives as to be loving, you never know what's going on in people's lives. First of all, it could be anything that got their mind focused on something else. But even if it doesn't appear somebody misunderstand us, it doesn't mean that we change. We don't change our standards. This is who I am. I know who I am. If I do it the wrong way, I come off to somebody that, I can't explain to them, or I need to explain to them, then they need to, that puts it on them. They need to come back and say, well, you did this and it hurt me or whatever. But what we're doing, we're talking about our own personal standards, who we are. We looked at our core self to see who we really are, our core truth, to know who we are, what we really see about ourselves, and our core belief, who we really believe ourselves to be. So today we're going to add a little bit more to that. We gave us some things to remember last week. Say, don't give in to temptation. Have the willpower and the self-respect to say no. We have to, this is what I believe in. This is a deal breaker for me. And it's hard sometimes to say no, especially with those people that we have relationships with, because we love and we sacrifice. We make sacrifices for the people we care about. But when it comes to affecting my status, when it comes to it seems like trying to change who I am, it may not come off that way from them. Maybe they don't feel that they're trying to change who you are. But if you know that this is how you are, this is what you like, this is what you don't like, and we have to have the willpower and the self-respect for ourselves to say no to those people. No, it has not been an easy word to say in a lot of our lives. We were not even taught to say no. We were given in, we did, and especially those of us who have had traumatic experiences in our lives. We didn't know to say no, and I'd say we didn't know, but we didn't practice it, so it wasn't like it was an easy thing for us. We don't follow the crowd even when it's comfortable doing so. We're not followers in that sense. So now, as we take back our lives, as we deal with the traumatic traumas in our lives, we are not trying to follow anybody else. We're trying to become our whole authentic self. And as we become whole and authentic and show our real self and tell our real story and bring all our fragmented parts back into who we really are, when we do that, we will find that we get into relationships with people who are also like-minded, with people who are also becoming their whole authentic self, with people who are also who are able to open it, to share themselves. Not everyone is able to share themselves. Excuse me. It may seem like an uneasy thing to do, but not everyone is able to. We have been programmed for so long to be a certain way, to act a certain way. So when we have to bring the good, the bad, and the ugly of ourselves to a conversation or to a relationship, it's not easy sometimes to do. Another thing we don't do, we don't excuse ourselves by mimicking inappropriate behavior. We don't excuse our actions by mimicking. And well, everybody goes off every now and then. Well, everybody gets upset every now and then. Everybody does this every now and then. Well, people do this, or this is just how it is. It can be how it is if we want it to be, but we are responsible for ourselves. Once we take responsibility for everything in our own lives, it helps us to mimic inappropriate behavior. And I know that, we know that we crave acceptance. We want to be accepted. We want, not necessarily in the in crowd or not necessarily in the clique, but we want people to see us as we are. We want people to see the good in us. We want people to see the authenticity in us. We want people to see that. But in order for them to accept us, we need to see the price tag for that. If I have to change who I am, if I have to do so much outside of who I am, or if I have to give in to things that's really not what I want in my life, we have to check that price tag and see if it's worth it. And then we decide from there, is it worth it? Sometimes it's hard to lose a friend, especially friends who you've had for years in your life, because nobody wants to give up a friend. But when that friend, or when things are happening in your life that's common against who you are, when those things that are happening in your life are triggering overstepping your boundaries, and you see the trigger things, the trauma triggers that they come about when they're around, we have to do something. Not necessarily because we want to do something, but in order to be our whole authentic self, in order to live that life that we want for ourselves, we have to. And then it's hard, because I have had to do that, and it's not easy at all. And sometimes I still miss those people, but not to the point where I can't be me. We have to make that decide. Is it worth me giving up myself? Or is it to the point where I stop being me, where I stop doing the things that I like, where I stop living my whole authentic life? And we don't have to fight with others who don't agree with us. I wish that people would respect the fact that every one of us are different. We're all so unique. We're all so wonderful. Just because we're different doesn't mean we're any less wonderful than you are. We're any less smart than you are. We're any less intelligent than anybody else. We are different. We are created. Just like our fingerprints are different. Everything about us. We may look alike. You can have identical twins, but they are still different. We are different, and we need to learn to respect that diversity in each other. You don't do things like I do. I know if you really look at our lives. Now, I remember one time there was a manager who said that they would work for themselves, or I would work for me, and I wish everybody was like me. No, I can look at me in the mirror and say I wish people were like me, but I don't do that anyway. But anyway, I could look in the mirror and think that I got it like that I figure everybody should be like me. But the truth is, most of us don't want to be like anybody else. I don't want to be like anybody else. And that's what sometimes when those trauma experiences in our life, they try to force us to be a certain way. They take out who we really are, and we, like I said, it makes us fragmented in a lot of different areas. So we bring back the fragmentation. We don't fight with other people because they agree with what we say. And I gave you that quote that said, never wrestle with pigs, because you both get dirty, but the pig may actually like fighting with it. So we don't fight, and we don't compromise our values. Some people will try to impose their way of thinking on us. That happens. Just remember that debates are not won by force. Even though you're going to keep telling me why I should do that, that is not how you win a debate. The way that you win a debate is when you present a better argument. You tell me why it's better for me if I do that way. Tell me what's going to be the benefit of doing it your way, the benefit of your way of thinking. Tell me how that benefits you. And I still may choose not to do it. We are free. We are free entities. God created us free. We have our own way, our own desires, our own things. That's who we are. And to try and take that from someone is not fair. It's not right. people impose their way of thinking on us for many reasons, and they're not all bad. Sometimes people just don't want to hurt you. Don't want to see you hurt. Don't want to see you go through the thing that they've gone through. And sometimes it's because of their experiences that they try and impose their way upon you. But we can't allow their views to violate our boundaries. When we say, "This is who I am. These are my standards," I can't allow your views to violate what I need in my life, because you oftentimes, especially with people who have traumatic experiences, you don't know the extent of the traumatic experience. We have, like, now I remember when people were talking about, it has come out lately, where so many people talk about they were abused as a kid, they were raped by somebody. I see that so much now, way more than it ever came out. But we don't really talk about the effects of it a lot of times. You may see tears, but they don't tell you how that stuff sometimes can go on in your life, can affect you year after year in your life. I wrote about some of it in my book, how this stuff happened to me in 1967, and I was in Chicago in 1992 when it came up on me, like it was brand new. And this stuff was affecting me for years and years after that. And I talked about how, I won't talk about it on here, but some of the things that it did, and the book still doesn't tell you all the ways that it affected me. So to be abused, to deal with a traumatic experience, somebody else may feel like, oh, okay, that happened, and you should get over it, but it doesn't always work that way. As we know, trauma will surface when there's room for the trauma to surface. So we also talked about our core beliefs and your core truth, how it will affect your core belief, and how your core truth rather will affect your core belief and your active belief. Meaning, who you are inside is going to affect who you really are inside. Is going to affect what you believe and how you react to it. And we gave a couple of examples about crossing against the red light. The light is red. So if my core truth is that the light is red and I cross against the light, it could put me in danger. If that's who I know, that's it. That for me, that's the way it is. That's my core truth. So my core belief would tell me that my core belief supports the core truth always, is by always crossing at the light. So that's what, when you have a core truth, when you realize your core truth, your core belief is going to support it. So now you have a core truth that crossing against the light is dangerous. The core belief would be, I should always cross when the light is green. And in the active belief, you wait at the corner for the light to turn green. So that's the way it goes. The core truth about ourselves is, once we know the real core truth about ourselves, it's unquestionable. You want to remember, like we said, when we write down our core truth, you don't want to have a lot of them. And as I said, you can either visualize doing it, or you can actually write them down, 5 or 10. We're not going to write a lot this time. And you're going to put them in a jar or something, and you want to close it. You want to close it. Feel free. You can add more if you decide later, oh, I didn't realize I hadn't thought about this, but this is my core truth. You can add something, but never take anything out. That's why you want to take your time to look at it and see who you really are. I'm honest. I know that I'm a hard worker. Don't take it out even temporarily. No one can tell me that I'm not a hard worker. There's some. This is not, as I said, this is not a magic trick or magic bullet that this will help, but it symbolizes your willingness to stop doubting who you are. We so oftentimes, sometimes unwittingly, doubt who we are. We've been allowing almost every circumstance in our lives to make us take out, examine, and question the very existence of things that are always true about ourselves. If I know what's always true about me, that I'm a hard worker, and then somebody come up and give me something that, I'm feeling like they say things that lead me to feel like I should have done more, I'm not doing it, I know I'm a hard worker. I don't have to be watched to work. I do what I need to do. I do what I'm supposed to do. That has been me. That's who I am. When I was working, I used to get up and I start work 5 o'clock in the morning. And I would work until it was done, no matter what it took. Sometimes not even get up from my desk to have lunch, but I do whatever it takes. On here and on my Friday morning, Friday's Word, I'm here at my kitchen table. Kitchen table. And I sit here, and I was telling a girlfriend, sometimes I'm here studying as much as I sit here as much sometimes as I did when I actually had a job that it was giving me, that I was getting paid for. I sit here and do it because this is who I am. I am very dedicated to what I do. I always give it my best. That's who I am. And for someone to tell me I'm not going to go back and take that out of my jar, examine it, and question that. Well, maybe I'm not. No, or maybe you could do more. Well, instead of getting up at 5, you get up at 4:30 and have my mind telling me stuff like that. No, I'm not. And that's why sometimes I come off kind of maybe a little bit blunt, because when I say I'm not, I need you to leave me right there. Somebody misinterprets us, and we start thinking about, are we really liked? Do they like us? All that kind of stuff. Somebody feel disappointed about what we did or what we said, and our compassion now is on trial. All of that stuff that will come up and make us start to second guess ourselves. So consider your core truth. They can be hidden, but they can never be destroyed. And remember that our core truths are always 100% unquestionable. Your core truth is the most inner and central part of what you believe. The truth can be hidden, but it can't be destroyed, remember. Our core beliefs are strong beliefs that hold consistently over time, that inform our worldview about our self-perception. Our active belief, remember, is how we act it out. And I told you that this philosopher named Matthew Boyd said, your beliefs are not normally the things that you act upon, but they're actually, the belief is an act themselves. So if you say if you say, like my great grandbaby one day, she was crying. She missed her mom, and I was babysitting, and she was crying. She's such a sweetheart. She was crying. She doesn't cry out loud. I just saw the tears coming down her face, and I asked her if she was okay, and she said, "Of course, of course." So even though she was saying, "Of course I'm okay," her active belief that she wasn't okay, the tears were showing it. So the act itself would tell you what it was. The act itself, the fact that the baby was sitting there crying, even though she said she was okay, she was not okay. So so he's saying that Matthew Boyd said that the belief that I'm okay is not the thing that we act upon. If you believe you're okay, there's no reason to cry. But rather, the belief themselves are the acts. The act, the beliefs are the acts. So actually, the crying was really what your core active belief was. And we know again that core beliefs are normally formed in our early childhood. This is something new. They are normally formed in our early childhood, so changing them is not always easy. First of all, we have to find out what our core truth is. We have to understand what that is. And trauma taught us that the world is dangerous and we aren't worth the ground we stand on. Trauma does that to us. All depend on how that trauma come and affect us. It can make us feel like we're not worthy. It can make us feel like the world is dangerous, even though it may have been that one incident or that one incident over time. We start to feel that way. We were neglected and traumatized to the point that our perspective of the universe was splintered and torn apart by the negative clues in our childhood environment. So everything in life, that it wasn't like we were that whole person again, but it traumatized us to the point that our perspective, the way we saw the universe, was splintered and torn apart. I hope that you remember when I talked about, I met this guy, and he didn't do anything. The man said, ask my kids. I finally let him meet my kids, and he said to my kids, what do you want for Christmas? And that was a trauma trigger for me. You do not ask my kids what they want for Christmas. There was nothing wrong with asking those kids what they wanted for Christmas, but because of the way that the trauma had me and my perspective of things, I thought that he was up to something. In my mind, he was up to something, and I never saw him again. Because these beliefs that we have are so deeply set in our early adoption, we have accepted them as true and somewhat unchangeable. That's why it's such a challenge for us when we try to change our core beliefs. When our core beliefs are negative, they work against us, and they're often secretive and invisible to other people. So this is what like that baby crying. Our core belief, what she believed, was she didn't express it. The tears, her core, the only way I knew was her active belief, but her core belief was secretive, and it was hidden. I didn't know if she really believed that she was okay. Negative core beliefs are not always conscious, cognitive thoughts directing us in life. They're not always conscious, cognitive thoughts. They don't always be the one that direct us. Many times they're silent and quietly direct how we behave and carry on in the world. So sometimes we ourselves, unless we pay attention to our core beliefs and our core self, who we really are and what we really believe, we act differently than what we think. We act differently. So sometimes, even though we don't even know it, we don't even know it. That's why we talked about being self-aware, paying attention to ourselves. And that's another, when we talked about how we set our standard. You set your standard, you say this, and then pay attention to what you did that day. Go back and look and say, did what I do align with what I said? That's why one of our affirmations, we are who, we are exactly who and what we claim to be. Because sometimes we can say who we are, but if our actions don't show that, we need to pay attention. Okay? At other times, you may know you may know that you are negative or doubtful or distrustful. You may know this about yourself, but you began to blame other people for it. Instead of really looking at it, admitting it, we start to blame other people, for our troubles. We want to be mindful of that too. While it is true that at one time or another, the people we trusted as children to care for us, they failed us. We can admit that. My dad failed us. My dad failed me and abusing me. My mom failed me and not protecting me. And I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to go ahead and make an excuse for her, because I really don't think she could have. She was abused herself. But still, the fact remains. The people I trusted as a child to care for me failed me. They failed me. My grandma failed me. Those people who were there when Dad shot at Mom, they failed us. That we have to admit that to ourselves and not make excuse. Relationships, if you've been failed in that relationship, you have been failed in that relationship. We have to tell ourselves the truth in order to be whole. Now, even if you forgive those people that failed you, still they failed you. And we have to tell ourselves the whole authentic truth in order for us to be whole and authentic. The simple truth is that we are responsible for our own negativity today. Yes, they failed me, but if I'm going to allow that to carry on to today, no one else is responsible but me. Yes, they did that. No, it wasn't right, but today I get to choose, and today I will not let that negativity influence me. Who we are today is our responsibility. We are responsible for our own negativity today. I don't care how we were raised. I don't care what we are adults. What the scripture said, when I was a child, I did as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became an adult, I put away those childish things. When we have to get to a point where we change. If we don't like what we see, then it's a good idea that we change it. I was talking to an acquaintance, and they wanted to go, and they were saying that they didn't know how to use the computer. Well, I'm not a computer literate, and I want you to show me how to do this. I said, go to the library. Well, I've only been here, and I've only been here a few years, so I don't even know what a library is. Well, you find a grocery store, find a library. We sometimes we just because you didn't know how to use it, because you didn't go to school for computer operation, just because that stuff, it's a lot of things that didn't happen when we were kids. But as an adult, you can put yourself in a place, you can learn it if you want to learn it. And I said to this acquaintance, I said, if I don't volunteer for it, don't ask me, because I'm not going to do it. You are an adult. If you want to learn something, there's a library. Go back to wherever you need to go, but you're not going to come over here and spend your day wasting my time with something that you can go and do by yourself. That's something I'm not going to do. And that's just real, and that's just honest. Because I have things that I have to do, like be ready for Saturday morning, like be ready for Friday morning, like be ready for Sunday school. Whenever I bring the word, be ready to bring the word. I have to be ready. I mentor people. I talk to people. Getting ready for Victory Outreach to do those presentations there. I'm busy. Not too busy to help someone who needs it, but too busy to help someone who just don't want to help themselves. That's Rosie. So we're responsible for ourselves. Since we know our core truth and what's true about ourselves, we work to change our core beliefs. If this is who I am, then change the way we think about who I am. First, we pay attention to what our mind is saying. Got to pay attention. Listen to yourself think and say those thoughts. If you say those thoughts out loud and clearly hear the negative messages that you're telling yourself, listen to what you say. I remember one day we were on the prayer line, and the man was saying, we're all getting old and feverish and we're just going through this. I said, can you speak for yourself? Speak for yourself. If you want to go through, if you think you dying, that's on you. I am not. I'm not. I remember my dad, I called him Mark, told me one day, Mark Hill said to me one day, he said, Rose, I don't even think I'm coming to your first funeral. I'm going to wait for the second one. So yeah, some of you, the rest of you may want to wait to my second one, because you're not going, I'm not going to let people, myself and anybody else have me thinking things that are outside of who I am. No, that has happened too long. I thought I was so unworthy. I thought I was so unloving. I thought that I didn't deserve to be loved. I thought I was doing something wrong to make people treat me the way they did. I thought it was me. It's not me. And since I know it's not me, I'm going to pay attention to what I think, say those things out loud, and change how I'm thinking. Push that out of my mind. Be careful of the negative messages that you're giving yourself. Don't be careful of them. Remember that the negative thought patterns you formed in childhood has not, you just brought them over into your life, into adult life. They may look a little bit different, but those are the same negative childhood, negative thoughts as a child. When I was the things I went through as a child, I had these real negative thoughts. I thought the world was scary, and now I'm afraid of a lot of things as an adult. But then now as an adult, because I understand that I'm responsible today, I push those things and I do those things, that even those things I'm afraid to do. So ask yourself, how does having negative core beliefs hold me back in life? How does having these negative core beliefs about myself, how do they hold you back in life? What are they preventing you from doing? And then listen carefully to the answer that you give yourself and do something about it and act to change it. Think about these core beliefs that we have about ourselves. What are they doing to me? Thinking that I'm not worthy, thinking that I can't do something. How does that affect me? It prevents a lot of things in our life. And then we can listen to the answer we give ourselves, and we can make some changes. We can act to make some changes. It's time to replace negative core beliefs and self-talk with positive one interactions. Begin exchanging negative tape playing in our head, put there by our abusers, for positive one. Those things that became negative in our head, stop playing those CDs or whatever you got in your head. Stop playing that iHeart radio station in your head that tells you that you're not worthy, that tells you that you can't succeed, that tell you that things are impossible in your life. Stop doing that. Stop playing those and replace them. Replace them. Exchange them for some positive belief. Know who you are. Know who you are. Tell yourself who you are. Instead of telling yourself that you're ugly or that you're worthless, tell yourself in the mirror that you're beautiful. You're worthwhile. Yes, you are. I don't care if the world don't think you are. Yes, you are. Repeating to yourself these positive affirmations will be helpful. We can search the world all over to find someone who is more deserving of our love and affection than we are ourselves. Stop looking for anyone else. There is no one. Let me say that again. We can search the world all over, trying to find someone who is more deserving of our love and our affection than we are ourselves. I've been guilty, like I say, I'm honest. I've been so guilty so many times that I would give others, and I would take somebody and not care how much their dinner cost, but then when it came to me, I wouldn't buy it because it cost too much. There is no one in the world more deserving of your love than you are. Stop looking for them. They're not. We talked about how our values determine our actions and decisions. Remember that your core truth is the most inner and central part of what you believe. Remember that. Our core truths are who we are, and our values are the ethics that guide these truths. Sometimes we find it difficult because we believe in respecting other people and what they say. And sometimes, even when their opinion is not welcome, we still want to respect it. So sometimes we do things that is not us, just because we want to, we want to be right. We want to do the right thing. We don't want to hurt anybody. The best way for me to make the final decision that I will not regret. So I find that for myself, when I make a decision, the final decision, when I actually act upon that decision, the best way to do one, to make that decision that I will not regret, is to be the one that make it, because it's my life. And yeah, I sometimes make decisions that, oh, I should not have done that, but it was mine. That's gonna be the end of it when it's me. But if I do something because I'm following somebody else and doing what they want me to do, how's that gonna make me feel? I can't go back to them and blame them, because it's really me. I allow them to have that much input in the decisions that I make in life. I'm gonna look off, because I want to see if there are any comments that I want to address on Facebook. And first of all, I want to thank you all for joining. I see you, Minister Delphine, Pastor Delphine, rather. I really appreciate you for coming on. And all the others who may be watching, I really appreciate you. She says, Minister Delphine says, I'm worthy because God made me worthy through Jesus Christ. We are the righteousness of God. That's right. God made us worthy. But even for those of you who don't know him, you are worthy. You are. Even if you don't know him, you are yet worthy. And it's still the same reason, because God made you worthy. So when you're making a decision about your life, make sure that you're making it. You know, it's not a bad thing to listen to what other people are saying, but the final decision about your life should come from you. Our core values are the things in our lives that we live from, that are non-negotiable. The core values of what we value should not be negotiable. This is my ethics. This is what I value. This is what's important to me. They are the things we know in our heart and live passionately, both in our personal life and our business life. These values are our strength, and they will help us get through the darkest values that we face and lift up us to the brightest mountain. When we adhere to our core values, those things that we really believe, those things that's in our heart, and that we live passionately, we find that we're living our life. We talked about that purpose-driven life. Our life become purpose-driven, to live out that core value of who I am, to be that person that I know that I am. Our core values are at the heart of who we are and what we are, and they need to resonate in our heart's energy. If they don't, think about them, because they may not be our values, but they may belong to somebody else. When our core values do not resonate in our heart's energy, they may not be ours. That may be what somebody else has told us is valuable, what someone else has placed on us. And like I said, we make that final decision for ourselves based on what we want in our lives. And since we said that our core values are non-negotiable, our heart and our body and heart will react anytime we're tested. When we have something, when our core value is non-negotiable, because it should be non-negotiable. If it's yours, it's non-negotiable. So when somebody comes and when somebody comes and test them to try to tell us something different, our heart and our body is going to react. You know, the thing about trying to push a person away from who they really are, you find that you end up losing them. You that friendship, you can change the way that friendship goes. People have left a lot of relationships because that other person was trying to make them do something that was not their core values. As I said before, debates are not won by force. They are won by presenting a better argument. Just present the argument and allow people to do what they want to do. If we do something that's against our core value, it will show itself to us. Then we have the choice to pay attention or ignore it. And a lot of times now, people are not ignoring it. When you come to somebody and you're trying to get them to be like you, or trying to get them to be who you think they are, people are not ignoring it. Sometimes various reasons, they may ignore it for a while, but after a while, as that stuff began to build up, and it can become to the point where it becomes a traumatic experience. When it becomes a traumatic experience, it can hurt us. So because we know that traumatic experience is what they can do to us, we fight them off. We don't allow them to come into our life. We make sure that we don't allow other people to tell us what our values are. You don't get to choose what they are. You don't get to choose, because our body and our heart's going to react. We're going to know this is against what I believe. This is not what I want to do. And even if we try, because of sacrifice and love, do it a couple of times, it's not going to be able to stand up, because it's really who we are in the core. The most difficult part of being true to any core value is that it asks us to tell our truth. We can't deny it without paying a price. If we ever try to deny it, we're going to pay a price. And that price sometimes can be us. The most difficult part of being true to any core value is that it asks us to tell our truth. The only way that I can be real to who I say I am, to my values, I have to be true to it. I have to tell my truth. And we cannot deny it. If I deny who I am, I'm going to pay a price. I'm going to be stressed. It's going to give me headaches probably. Sometimes we can't eat it. It does what other stress does. It's going to do something. It makes me pick up. I was sharing with a young lady, I think it was yesterday. If we are not true to ourselves, if we do that when our values are tested and we react, sometimes it comes to the point where, we pick up our phone and say, that's so I'm not going to answer that. It changes us. We got the relationship changes because we know you're coming against something that we don't believe. We know that you're testing our value. So, she called again. But even if you really need that person, even if you really just need to talk, that'll make them, you're going to change the dynamics of the relationship. The best thing is to allow people to be themselves. Let everybody know their own core value, let them live out their own core truth. The most difficult part of being true to any core value, it asks us to tell our truth. And we cannot deny that without paying a price. Okay? It's never a good thing to override a core value to save someone else from discomfort. It's never a good thing to override our own core value to save someone else from their discomfort. They need to deal with theirs. We have to protect ourselves. They need to address why they feel that what they are feeling based on their own core values. They need to go and look and say, well, why does this make me feel this way? Because this person is being true to themselves. Why does you being true, why does Minister Delphine being true to herself, why does that affect me? Now, it's not Minister Delphine that I need to look at, but I need to go back in my life and say, why does this affect me? Doesn't she have a right to be true to herself? Doesn't she have a right to her core value? Doesn't she have a right to live her core truth? And the problem is not her. The problem is, why is this bothering me? So I need to go back and see if my values belong to me. Or am I worried about something outside of my own? Do I have my own value? How is it affecting me? As we continue to be our whole authentic self, think about our core truth, our core values. Think about our how we respond to our values, how we respond to them, and how we act. See if what I'm saying align with what I do. If I say that I'm a hard worker and I sleep all day, maybe, I may sleep one day, but if I'm sleeping all day all the time and I say, well, I'm a hard worker, I'm dedicated, it doesn't line up. If I say that, well, I cook, I'm a cook, I cook all the time, I'm a cook, and I never get in the kitchen, there's something wrong with that. Maybe I need to go back and see, am I really being honest and real with myself? It is very, very important to be real with ourselves. Today we're going to end this one. I don't know where we will go next week. All depends on the questions and the things that come up this week. I want to say to Sabrina, happy birthday. To anybody else who I missed, if I know it's your birthday, I will definitely acknowledge it. Happy birthday, Sabrina. Wish you many, many, many more. I want to say that I will be back on Friday with Friday's Word with Dr. Rosie Thompson. Be back again on Saturday with Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. I will be speaking tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. at Mount Moriah's Church. It's Women's Day at Mount Moriah, 500 Hannah Avenue in Forest Park, Illinois. We'd love to see you if you're able to come. It's going to be a great day. We're thanking God for the women, all women in those at Mount Moriah. So we're looking for a word tomorrow. We're believing God for a word. And for your prayers, we thank you so much. Thank you for joining us as always. Thank you for being with us live here. We thank you for those who will watch this video later. And for those who will see this on YouTube, rather. I thank you so much. We will do our affirmations for today. And we continue to say that we honor ourselves by being authentic and whole. It's so important to honor ourselves. We are so wonderful. We are so unique. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are everything that God created us to be. We were even created in the image and likeness of a God. Now you, not a God, but the God Almighty. You can't be better than that. You don't let people tell you you're not. Yes, you are. You were created in His image to look like Him and His likeness. With the same, He gave us Him in us. We are actually and exactly who and what we claim to be. Now, since we know that we were created in the image and likeness of an Almighty God, we can be exactly in exactly who and what He is, because we are in His image and we're in His likeness. We are mature in every area of our lives. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, sometimes we get it wrong, but we're mature enough even to admit those mistakes and to go do it and fix it. We're self-aware. We slow down. We pause. We take our time to think about what we're saying. We take our time to be mindful of what we say, and then we say it in love. Even if it's something that we don't agree with somebody else, when we don't agree, before we say anything, when our emotions come about, because our emotions are not us, they belong to us, but they're not us. So even if our emotions are involved, when we get ready to say something to somebody, we make sure that we count to 10 slowly. If that doesn't work, we count to 20 slowly. If that doesn't work, we do whatever it takes to make sure that when we go and share something that's going about our true self, when it's going against who we are, we take our time to breathe. We take our time to put our emotions in check. But then we have to open our mouth, because this is myself. This is who we are. We are self-aware of what we are saying, and we are self-aware of who we are. We actively practice self-efficacy. We believe in our abilities to meet our standards. We believe in our abilities to do the things that we desire. We believe in our ability to be our whole authentic self. Our bodies are healthy and our minds are at peace. We are confident and we are enough. We are so confident excuse me, and we are so much of enough that we find joy in everything that we do. Anytime there's anything in our life that we don't find joy in, we go back and look at it and see if this is something that we should be doing. And we are a safe place for ourselves. We are a safe place not for ourselves. I want to thank you once again. Thank you, Delphine. Thank you for the comments. Look and make sure I'm not missing anything, because you know I will. Thank you so much for your comments. We thank you for joining today. As I said, we'll be back online tomorrow morning. Again, we'll be at Mama Mariah Church, 500 Hannah Avenue in Forest Park, Illinois. On Friday morning at 8 o'clock will be Friday's Word with Dr. Rosie Thompson. On Saturday morning, we'll see you back here for Saturday morning with Dr. Mama Rosie Thompson. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining. And I will see you, if not tomorrow, I will see you on Saturday. Goodbye.